corners. I could do all the corners first. Ready? You get used to using your forceps. So I'm going to draw a dotted line in my mind and make an X so that I'm going to stick the needle in away from the tip. So when I tie it, it won't strangulate the tip. So I'm going to take a very shallow bite and exit intradermally. See how the needle is in the dermis? Grab the needle with your forceps before you pull it all the way out, rearm it, and then pull it through so you don't drop the needle. Evert the tip, and you're going to bite it horizontally through the dermis, side to side. Let me get the thread out of the way so you can see. Again, rearm it, pull it through. So that's all intradermal. And then I'm going to, I didn't take a very big bite of it, and now I got to go intradermal here and exit on the surface. So everything was intradermal. Boxes wiggling. So now when I tie it, it'll bring that tip right up flush. I'll just put a couple of knots in. Let's analyze it. So see how the tip is flush with the surface? If you go all the way through the dermis with your first bite and then go through the tip intradermally and then all the way through the dermis, it'll pull the tip down below. So everything's got to be intradermal. And it's all flush, even. And then you can just put a stitch like over here and over here, and then whatever you need to close up your laceration. So that's a corner stitch, tip stitch, or half-buried horizontal mattress. So that gets you used to working intradermally. So now we'll do the buried interrupted subq stitch. This is the one that you would use on a face to do it perfectly, make it nice and cosmetic, or on the laparoscopic holes you get to practice. They may not be perfect, but then when you get to a face you can do it better. So I'm right-handed. I'm going to start on the left side, and I'm going to put the needle below the dermis. Let me choke up a little bit more with this giant needle. I'm going to put the needle below the dermis, and then, I don't know if you can see it from that angle. So I'm below the dermis, I'm coming straight up intradermally. I don't want to be that close. Okay, intradermal. Now what you do in, this box is making it shake a lot, huh? What you do in real life is you pull the wound lengthwise with your two fingers and put a little blood mark on the surface so you can see where to go exactly straight across. But since there's no blood, I have to pay attention. And I'll grab right next to it, evert the edge, and then put the needle right in the dermis at the same depth I exited on the other side. And visualize the needle so that you don't hook anything underneath that you shouldn't. Pull the needle and thread onto the same side of the tail as the tail. In other words, if the needle and thread was on this side and the tail's on this side, when you go to tie it, it would get tangled in there. So they need to be both on the same side. Now it's important to understand the concept of which way am I going to tie this. Am I going to go like this? Or am I going to go like this? What am I going to do?
Like that.
Yeah, the needle and thread is on this side now. Needle holder where the cut is, so I'm going to hit the thread on the inside. So I have to go counterclockwise on my first throw. Normally I'd be going the other way on the surface, but this is upside down inside. So I'm only going to do a square knot, not a surgeon's knot. So I'm going to go around once this way, grab the tail. It's important that you stay underneath that thread. You don't want to go over the top like that. That's wrong. You stay underneath that thread. Pull it. Now I'm going to go clockwise, staying over the top of that thread, not under it. And now when I pull it, I jiggle it and pull it right together flush, so the edges touch, come right together. And I'll put one more knot in, so under and over. You pull up both threads and cut with the tip of the scissor parallel with the cut, and careful not to cut the knot. Let's analyze it and see how it came out. So it looks like I did a good job lining it up this way and this way, right? And the knot's buried, and I can't pull it apart. So if I did the whole cut like that, then I could dermabond it or do little tiny 6/0 thread on top like the faces and take those out in 5 days, and these hold it together. So if I had used Vicryl, it'll lose 50% of its strength by 3 or 4 weeks. That'll get it back to the 30% of the normal wound healing that we need so it doesn't get wide or anything. Okay, so that's in the vertical plane, one at a time, laparoscopic holes and faces. Now for the body, not as perfect, you do that running subcuticular stitch. Should I put this on the table? Is it shaking too much?
It's okay. My hand shakes too. So.
All right, let me use a new pack of sutures. So I have plenty. There it is, right here. So we're going to do an anchor stitch, running subcuticular, and then tie it with the Aberdeen hand tie. The Aberdeen knot is a secure knot, and we'll bury the knot better than if we did an instrument tie at the end. It's not really a true knot, and it's not as secure. Pull this thread. Okay, so you just want to grab a little piece. This is such a big needle. You want to grab a little piece of the dermis with the needle and just tie a knot to itself. Don't grab the tip of the needle like this. You damage the sharpness of it. Always grab it with the forceps. Okay, so hang on to the tip, don't pull it through. You can do a square knot, a serge knot, it doesn't matter what you do here, you're just tying a knot to itself. And this will anchor it in place. That's plenty. I did 4 throws, 2 knots, that's plenty, but I'll put another one in so it makes a bigger knot so you can see it better. So now you just cut the tail, don't cut the knot. Okay, so now I'm going to go below that knot and exit above it, but stay in the dermis. Hold that out of the way for the camera. Like, just put your finger there. Yeah, thanks. Okay, so I'm going to go below the knot and exit above it intradermally. Come on, in the dermis. There we go. So now, if you can look above, that knot will go underneath and disappear. All right, and it's locked in place. And let me turn it this way so you can see better. Okay, so the knot's underneath there now. We're going to evert the edge and bite it intradermally now. The skin's kind of falling apart there. Okay, intradermally. Grab the needle with the forceps before you pull it all the way out. Lock your needle holder in place, then pull it through like that. Turn the needle perpendicular, then grab it with your finger and pull it through. You're going to go across to the other side. And don't do a locking stitch, so pay attention where you're grabbing the needle with the thread there. Go across to the other side. You don't want to advance it too far or it'll pucker. I'm not taking very big bites because this needle is so big and the skin's kind of cold. It's ripping. Actually, if you take smaller bites, it'll come out better. If you take too big of a bite, it'll buckle. It just takes you longer to do the smaller stitches. I need to take a bigger bite and pick up the tempo here so we can get to the end and show you the Aberdeen knot. Okay, so this is what you want to practice. Grabbing that needle, rearming it, and then pulling it through like that without dropping it. If you can do that in the oar, they'll let you close. Grab the tip with the forceps, pull it through, click it, and then pull it. All right, so now we're near the end. You got to anticipate leaving some room because you got to come back the way you came. So I'm going to do one more stitch here, then I'm going to come back the way we came. Let's see. So we're at the end there, see that? And I'm gonna come back, but I don't wanna go past the last stitch I did. So I'm just gonna take a little bite in here, and let me choke up a little more on this needle. This thing moving around, it's hard to deal with it. Okay. Let me grab that. And if I'm near the surface there, you want to be in the bottom of the dermis on this part here, actually. Okay, so we're at the end now. We're going to do the Aberdeen knot. So here's the end. See, I'm holding it with, you hold the needle and thread, don't let go of that. I'm holding this with my thumb and index finger, and the middle finger is going to grab this, pull it, and let it slide off my thumb and index finger, and I'm pulling the bottom thread. If I pull the top one, I'm just pulling on myself. So you pull the bottom one, and when I put my thumb and index finger like that and spread my fingers out, it pulls the bottom one. So middle finger grabs it, and let it slide off. I put my thumb over the top, and when I spread my thumb out, it pulls it down. Hold that tray, the thing, yeah, that's great. So here, let it slide off, put my thumb over the top, and when I spread my fingers out, it slides down. So do that again. And then on the last one, I'll pull the needle through, and that actually locks it in place. You rearm your needle. And you don't want to choke up now because you want to take a big bite. And I'm going to stick it in between the knot and the last stitch I did, go down below the dermis, and then exit away from the cut. And when you pull it, it'll pull that knot down below, and then you cut it flush with the surface, like that. And so then it's all buried. So you got an anchor stitch, running subq, Aberdeen hand tie. We use nylon, remember, so we can see what we're doing, but you'd use PDS, Vicryl, monocryl, probably monocryl on the body. They like to use monocryl. All right, corner stitch, very interrupted, running subq. Thanks.